Hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment of The Real Podcasters, the show where we like to talk all things movies, TV shows, video games, and a bunch of other things in no particular order. My name's Reagan, as ever, and I'm joined once again by my infected flubber of a co-host. It's Dan.
Oh, I was just waiting for that. Hello, you crusty, old, infected runner.
I mean, of the three that is in this movie that we're talking about, I'd rather be the runner. Because it's either that, or it's the giant slug-moving thing, or it's just the henchest zombie that you've ever seen since 2021's Army of the Dead.
Honestly, it's just a mood zombie, really.
It's a mood zombie.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you see it and you just think, oh god, I just feel so much like it.
Well, as the intro has suggested, we are going to be talking about the recently released 28 Years Later. I wasn't planning on doing it this quickly because I thought I'd be generous to Dan and not force us to do a review this soon, but he had the courtesy of seeing it the day after its release. So
he did.
Here we are. We'll leave Batman Arkham Knight to the next episode because this one's slightly more important. I don't know about you. This is probably my most anticipated movie of the year, bar Superman, I think.
Well, definitely.
I was trying to think of what else is out this year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely top three. I mean, there's this, the new Jurassic World, even though it's probably going to be wank, but hey ho, and Superman.
Superman isn't going to be that though. It just can't. It's not possible.
I guess we'll see.
We'll definitely do a review of that when it comes out. But yes, talking about 28 Years Later, as we do with any of these episodes, Dan, do you want to give us a brief synopsis in your ChatGPT fashion?
Oh, it's not ChatGPT for once.
Is it IMDb?
No.
Is it Letterboxd?
It's my own, actually.
It's Wikipedia. He's using Wikipedia, folks. A reliable source.
Yeah, so basically this takes place 2 decades after the original rage virus outbreak that plagued the United Kingdom. So you have the remnants of humanity on an island just outside of Northumberland, and it follows a family of 3 really impressive Geordies, actually. I was really impressed with this, by the way. So yeah, it follows a family of 3 northerners and how they climatise to a very primitive world with ever-evolving danger.
Very well done. I like that.
Yes, I know. I was like, oh, that's good!
Yeah. I actually forgot about the fact this is like the most northern film I've seen in years. Like, it's like so quintessentially northern, and it will piss me off until the day I die. This I never saw any of it filmed, because once again I was at work. And B, I didn't go and see this at the Tyneside cinema when Mr. Danny Boyle was there. I've seen the photos and I'm very, very annoyed.
Yeah, I saw the photos and I'm not at all jealous and envious of it.
Well, if I'd known about it before I booked it, because I think I booked it literally on the day that the tickets came out for everywhere else, and then the Tyneside like, actually, you know what? We'll just let people know that Danny's going to be at this one, and you're like, why do you hate us? Like, come on. Yes, so definitely one of my most anticipated movies of the year. We have technically discussed 28 Days Later last year for, ironically, episode 100, as it turns out, just on how it worked. Because that was the first time I saw the movie. We have also seen 28 Weeks Later fairly recently.
Yes, we did at the Tyneside Cinema for a double bill.
Again. Yeah, I don't really want to do a podcast on 28 Weeks Later beyond the fact it's a bit naff. And this film decided, you know what? I don't want to retcon it, but I don't want to deal with this shit. So I'll just retcon it via text. As it turns out, it's like, lol, it didn't happen. Well done, Danny Boyle. Well done. It's like, I could deal with this, but I won't.
But I'm not gonna.
No. I have a different story to tell. So, in general, for my spoiler-free thoughts, general vibes are positive.
Okay.
If a bit disappointing. But it's a weird one. Like, I would happily say this movie is good. It's quite good. But okay. Well, for me, starting with things I like, performances on the whole really solid. In particular, little Alfie Williams, which I believe is his film debut as Little Spike. Also, the best performance I've seen in 2025. He is absolutely magnificent in this film. Despite the likes of Jodie Comer and Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who are all really excellent and getting top billing, this is clearly about Spike. And I think he does a really good job, especially given the scenario that he's placed in, where like everything wants to kill him, as you do. I also appreciate the passage of time. Obviously, I think we've all wanted to see what would happen 3 decades on.
Yeah, I mean, you've had days, you've had weeks. We haven't really done months, so it's like, well, we'll just kind of go to years. We'll just go absolutely batshit crazy, I guess.
Well, that's the thing, because at least, especially when it comes to the infected, they've evolved as well. They're not just running around. You've got runner ones, you've got slower ones, you've got hench ones. It's just really, really
You've got
spooky.
slug ones.
Yeah, they're just like little huts, as it turns out. Or, actually, I'll tell you what they actually look like. They look like Stellan Skarsgård does in the Dune movies. And I can say that now. Oh my
god, yeah.
They just look like little Stellans.
Except there's no like black cloak on them. They're just fully naked.
Yeah, very, very naked. In fact, most of them are in this film.
Yeah, most of them are.
Yeah. But yeah, they've got a bit of a hierarchy, which I thought was quite cool. At the same time, the third act of the movie, for me, just becomes almost like nothing but setup for the sequel, which, you know, I'm intrigued by, but it means that this movie doesn't really end. It just sort of does like a to be continued. And I think I'm at the point in my life where I actually am really starting to get really annoyed with this sort of trope, because it means that this movie doesn't really stand on its own for me, when, you know, even the second film, which is not very good, does end on a cliffhanger, but it still ends. This one is just sort of like, well, we could end, but we'll add one more scene with weird things. We'll get into spoilers in a minute. But it just left the film for me feeling a bit unfinished, which I think is a real shame. Again, I still like the movie, but it should have been great, I think, is the point I'm trying to make. It should have been great. And now is the point where I start to get worried. Either Dan absolutely adores this thing, or he hates it. Or it's somewhere in between, and we're just going to be agreeing with each other on every single sentence, which I don't mind, but, you know, I like a bit of difference.
Okay. So...
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree that it is good, but it's not brilliant. It's a hell of a lot better than 28 Weeks, and I mean, there's no dispute in that. I mean, it's a hell of a lot better. But then again, like, stubbing your toe off a infected door is probably better than 28 Weeks Later, plot-wise. So
in 3 more decades, we're going to have pieces of furniture that become infected, and it's just going to be set in IKEA.
Yeah, it's just constantly evolving. Yeah, 28...
Because I'm down for that. 28 IKEAs later.
The dancing furniture. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I would say it's good. It's just nice to see that the Northeast actually got some well-deserved recognition in a big-budget zombie horror as well.
Exactly.
Like, that to me was like, it's about time. Like, it is about freaking time.
This is our time.
Yes.
28 years in the future.
I'd also say the third act is where I really kind of started to drift off a bit from the film. I think it's frustrating because I'm much like yourself, where I'm getting a little bit tired of this, like, we'll end it on a way so we can set up for another film, but I'm pretty sure, like, another 28 years later film hasn't even been greenlit yet.
The second one has, but the third one hasn't. So it's
right, we have another trilogy, like Halloween. Fantastic.
28 years later kills, 28 years later ends.
Yeah. Oh, God. But yeah, I mean, it's a good film. I've certainly enjoyed it, and that's really all I can say without delving into spoilers, really.
Well, I suppose we'll get into that now. Obviously, if you haven't seen the movie, you should go and watch it.
That would be a good time to stop listening to two Northeasterners rant about a film.
Well, I think we could have been so biased and be like, actually, by default, this is the greatest film we've ever seen because the Angel of the North is in it. We need a little bit more than that. Or
in its very grassy, rustic form.
It still looks beautiful.
It is. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a shame the Metro Centre isn't in the background.
And the fact
the remains
that
of
I travelled past it to go to the cinema as well.
Did I do that? I can't remember if I did. Or did I go? I don't know. I think I was vaguely near it. But yeah, like I say, we're gonna go into spoilers. So, first things off, the world that we're in. So, this is set on Holy Island, or Lindisfarne, if you're going to get specific, which is quite convenient because I'm reading some crime novels from L.J. Ross. It's all set within the Northeast, and the first book, which I finished last week, is set on, and it's called Holy Island. There's no zombies in that one. There's just cults, which I suppose, given this film, there is also cults, but we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, the world I actually quite appreciate because I think when we were talking about 28 Days Later, like outside the podcast, like one of the things I don't particularly like about the first movie is the presentation of the subplot with Christopher Eccleston's character and the military just being the worst kinds of humans, even if their reasons kind of make sense. What we get to see here is that society is actually working to a certain extent. Minimal electricity, minimal water. Everyone's got a rule within society. It's almost like that community has kind of regressed a couple of 100 years. I can't remember if I put it in. Oh no, actually, I put it in this script. When it comes to the presentation of life on Lindisfarne, without going too dark, it does actually remind me of the time jump in everyone's favourite film, Threads.
Oh god.
When it gets because there's that bit like towards the end when it starts getting like a bit more, shall we say, medieval, like 10 years on after everything happens in Threads. I don't usually recommend that movie. It's dark as hell. But you get that sense with this movie. Everyone's found their role. You're using bow and arrows instead of actual like guns or anything. It feels,
which is actually just something that zombie horror just needs again. Like, it's great the fact simple. That they've put it in like, 2 decades after. So there's literally like not even like a gun in sight up until later on, and it's like three or four guns, but they're never ever really utilized.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, prime example, right? Walking Dead goes on for absolutely years, but yet they're so easy to find like ammunition and stuff like that in a post-apocalyptic world. Like there seems to just be an endless supply of it. In this, it's like, right, well, there's no more bullets. We're just gonna have to like step back to our ancestors with bows and arrows and sticks.
Yeah, even after like
it's almost gone primitive, and it's brilliant.
Mm-hmm. I think even with me just seeing like a single season of The Walking Dead, and immediately I'm like, yeah, I think that sounds absolutely rubbish. But it also makes sense within this world because they're trying to keep quiet, basically. And what I like about the story in general is that it is, in reality, a coming-of-age story, so it immediately sets it apart from the previous 2 movies. But I like the juxtaposition with the first 2 acts, where the first act is with Spike and his father Jamie, and then the second act is with Spike and Isla. Again, everyone's accents are on point. Didn't realise that I needed Craven the Hunter with like a Geordie accent, and it actually works way better. Tell me he doesn't just look like Craven in this movie, honestly.
It does.
It's like he went from one set to the next and he's like, yeah, it's fine, I'll just keep all this, it'll be fine.
Oh god, we're just never gonna unsee that now.
But there's like a sense of kind of like hero worship with Spike and his dad when he goes off to the mainland for the first time to hunt his first infected. It's almost sort of like a rite of passage kind of thing, which I think is quite funny when when like they're basically talking smack about the other groups around the mainland that are basically culty. I was like, you're treating the infected like you're a cult, like you're actually enjoying the killing.
Yeah.
But what I like is that Spike immediately clocks onto the idea that this is just a bit stupid, and it also feels a bit fake. And it's not like he's playing catch up to all of us, because we don't know what the world is properly like at this point, because we haven't been this far forward. So we're still learning about the world with him, but even we can see that there is clearly issues here. His father's a bit of a knob. Of course he is. I mean, like, you're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. You're probably quite lucky to find someone who isn't, to be honest. That being his mum. Which, also, for the record, they actually use the word ma'am. Again with, like, the northerness.
It's not mom?
Or mom, which would be even weirder. Don't think there's a single American in this, actually.
Like, and in peak northeastern accent as well, by the way. Ma'am.
That's the thing, yeah, it's absolutely just... I should be so much happier with the film just purely because it's northern.
Yeah, I mean, we liked it just because it's northeastern.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I forgot about it right up until the point I went into the film. I was like, northern, I forgot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, like, Spike is immediately realising that everything's wrong. And what he decides to do is actually go back to the mainland to search for Voldemort himself. Or M himself. Otherwise, his rear finds covered in red. Red finds.
Yes. Iodine finds.
Iodine finds.
Yeah.
Yeah, because throughout the entire film, Jodie Comer's character Isla is really suffering from memory loss. She gets quite angry very easily, and I'm kind of sat there for the entire film thinking,
yeah, she has a sickness.
Yeah, which I immediately thought, okay, are they going to do something like 28 weeks later where we're going to see someone who's like had like prolonged infection from the rage virus, but it's like really taking its time for some reason. It's just like, I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to wait.
Yeah,
I'm just going to stay here.
I really thought it was, because there were a few shots where like she just looks so out of her mind. I thought, like, is she just going to like turn into some zombie at like any moment in time now? And then when it's revealed, it's like, oh my god, it's like a punch in the guts.
Well, that's the thing, because, like, especially, like you say, with, like, what on earth she's actually doing, because you have that point when her and Spike are sleeping in the ruins of the Abbey, and then we realise that, one of the infected has been killed, and you're thinking, well, who the hell did that? And it's actually Isla. And you kind of start to thinking, Jesus Christ, okay, this has got to be rage virus, surely. No, actually, it's maybe somewhat stereotypical, but in the other sense, actually, it's not. In this scenario, is the fact that she's suffering from cancer. And when you're dealing with that in a zombie apocalypse, that's even worse, because
yeah,
what are you supposed to do? Like, even Ray Fiennes' character is like this. I can't do anything. Like, there isn't a hospital here anymore. So, I think you get the best scene and the most heartbreaking scene when she leaves this little baby, which I'll get to that in a minute, with Spike to take care of. And she's essentially asked, like, can you just put me out of my misery so I can go just peacefully? And you're like, oh my god.
That entire sequence, Jesus Christ. It's like the startup is like, he's so distraught because he's done all this hard work to try to get to a doctor, and the doctor can't do shit.
Mm-hmm.
So to obviously stop him interfering in what Isla's plan is to basically be put out of her misery, jab of morphine to just basically, put him out.
Mm-hmm.
And then she walks off with the doctor, and it's just like, oh my god. And do you know what the worst part of that was? When he comes back with a skull, and it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's a...
Find a place for it, and he climbs this like skyscraper of skulls, and he puts it at the top, and it is so heart-wrenching, sweet, but morbid as hell.
It's a weird sort of thing. I mean, I'll get to the bone bit in a second. I think the other bit that I wanted to talk about was actually, I think, one of the more effective scenes in the movie is it's set up like, because there's a few moments where you kind of just cut away to the infected just doing their thing, which in this case is just doing literally nothing, just kind of like sat there in the pond, just like
just splashing
haven't
water
figured out
around.
what to do yet. Maybe in another 28 years. But you see a shot of one of the infected and she's pregnant. I thought, oh, okay, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, when immediately I saw that shot, I thought, okay, I know where this is going.
Were you thinking of a...
is absolutely gonna pop.
Were you thinking of a certain movie that neither of us particularly like?
A certain two films, actually.
Oh yeah, actually, because they're both in the same franchise.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
We're 2 for 3 on the modern Alien movies when it comes to disturbing versions of pregnancy, which I mean, you know, I've got more reasons to dislike Alien Romulus, but I actually quite like the fact that it's kind of subverted because the baby's born in pretty horrific fashion and it's absolutely fine. You're thinking, oh, okay, I quite like this.
So then there's the theory that this person was pregnant at the time that this person got infected, and then over the course of the years, this person has just carried this baby until it's ready to pop.
Well, because that's the thing is, I mean, it's again similar to, I'm sure in Army of the Dead, there's that whole thing with like the zombie queen or something who I think is
the zombie queen, I think.
I mean, granted, I haven't seen that movie for years because why would I? It's fine. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
But it's funny how there's like 2 or 3 nods to Army of the Dead of all movies, and you're like, Danny, like, what are you doing? You know. But yeah, I thought that was actually quite effective. It must be said. So obviously they're going to be doing things with that. It immediately brings me back to 28 weeks later with the whole idea of the of being immune from the virus. I think it's the first time we've seen that with like a newborn baby. So it's a question of, did she become pregnant while she was infected, or was she pregnant then infected? And then, because both are intriguing ideas, and I feel like they'll probably play with that in the next one. And that's the issue, really, because the whole third act of the movie is in this temple of bone. What's the name of the sequel? The Bone Temple. And I'm sat there thinking, it's funny of you to have that on like the poster for this movie, and then the sequel just be named that. And I'm thinking, are you just going to reuse the poster and just like add in the Bone Temple at the bottom in like crayon? Which I might do, to be honest.
a little stickman roof. A little stickman iodine virus.
Yeah. But yeah, so the third act is set within this Bone Temple sort of area, with Ray Fiennes' character Kelson, and the film just does kind of just stop, because you have like reached that point where it's like, right, okay, they're here to deal with Isla, and then as soon as she dies, and yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a very morbid sort of way to go, even though, you know, emotionally I was absolutely there. But it's still a weird ending before we get to the actual final scene in the movie. I mean, where are you on that whole sequence within the temple?
I mean, yeah, I kind of felt the same. It just felt like it had a massive drop because it just felt there wasn't too much left, really. I mean, then Spike just kind of goes on his own way. He returns back to the village, drops the baby off, and then he has like his whole sort of I've got to find myself kind of thing.
Which, to be honest, as like an ending, I thought, right, you ended there, especially because they get so perilously close to using that godforsaken music from the first film, which I think
they do. They really do.
But they don't use the bit of music, which the sequel did 3 times. And I think I did in my review for 28 Weeks. I was like, Danny, for the love of God, do not use this music ever again. Like, it's great music, but it's overkill. Honestly,
yeah, we don't need it for every scene, Danny. Like, really, we don't.
But getting to that final scene, well, by final scene I mean we have to cut back to the very first scene in the movie, which is kind of funny for me because the movie was delayed while I was sat there in the cinema, and then when it came on, it was silent for about 4 minutes. It actually worked surprisingly well in silence, funnily enough. But one of the things I missed, because I was wondering, what the hell is this scene beyond just showing us, like, a bunch of zombies killing people, which I figured that's what it was. It's not. We cut back to the end of the movie and connect up to this, because you've got the little boy who escapes the house as his entire family is getting murdered, and he goes and hides in the church. His father gives him a crucifix as a necklace, and he hides. And one of the things I think is interesting, because when we went to go and see the double bill of 28 Days and 28 Weeks, they did show a clip from this movie, and it was the bits when Jamie and Spike go into the house, and there's an infected strung up with Jimmy written. Well, I say written.
We'll see it, obviously, when we saw that clip, and you get like the little jump scare of, I think it's like a fox running out of the door.
I kept thinking it was spooked. A cat or something. I thought, no,
I'm sure it's a fox. I mean, it sounds and looks like a fox, but anyway, like, because I knew it was coming, I didn't jump, but half the cinema screening I was in did.
There you go.
So I was like,
Wusses, honestly. But yeah, you see that someone's carved the word Jimmy into this corpse. Well, I say corpse, it's still alive-ish. So I think like the first time we saw that, I thought, is this meant to be sort of like a memorial for this guy and his name is actually Jimmy? No. No, it's not. What we have is there is a cult of survivors led by a now adult Jimmy, who was a little boy at the beginning of the movie, which I didn't click onto this. Someone did on Letterboxd. Credit to whoever the hell it was, you awful human. Was saying it's interesting having a character in a swanky jumpsuit, being really creepy, and his name is Jimmy. And I was like,
yeah, everybody thought the same, Reagan. I certainly did as well.
I didn't clock it because I'm clearly too young.
Oh, I did.
Which is ironic.
I clocked it straight away.
I didn't.
The funky jumpsuit and the Jimmy part, instant red flag.
Yeah, I didn't.
He just needed a big fat cigar, and then it would have been completed.
Did he not have a fat? I think if he had the cigar, I think the bit that clocked me more was the fact this is now 2 for 2 for Jack O'Connell playing a really creepy, sadistic murderer. First in Sinners earlier this year, i.e. the best film of the year, Irish dancing vampire, beautiful. This is cinema. And now playing a swanky jumpsuit murdering cultist. Again, you just pick them. But it ends with the revelation of this cult, which I was trying to describe it to my partner, because they're just bouncing around with like giant sticks and stuff. And I was
it's almost like a bloody like circus performance.
I was hoping you would think of the reference that I did, which was, this is exactly like the opening of Tooth and Claw from Doctor Who Series 2 with the monks. And that was stupid. That's such a stupid scene. I was like, Danny clearly was binging a bit of 2006 era Who, and then was just eating his apple. He saw that clip and then just threw the apple and thought, yeah, I'm doing that. And he just rang up his like friend Alex Garland, is like,
I kind of just remember thinking, like, what the fuck is this? Like a bunch of like circus performance, like acrobats just jump around and just start murdering zombies in a really torturous fashion.
Yeah, it's such a weird way to end. Like, if it just ended with like, you know, with like Spike's message to his father. Like,
I would have thought that would be fine.
Yeah, that would have been fine. It would have still felt quite abrupt, but
like
it would have been fine.
If they just finished with like Spike at his little campfire with his fishy that he caught, and then there's the zombie in the distance, end it there. I would have been absolutely fine with that.
Yeah, but instead we get this weird thing that's technically calls back to the beginning. I mean, I appreciate the fact it does call back to the beginning, because it would have been easy to just completely ignore it and just treat it just like another sequence with some zombies. But the problem that I've got now is the fact that this cult just basically just seems like a slightly more crazy version of the military group with Eccleston in the first movie, and I was like, we're not going to do that again, surely. Like, like the film has done a pretty good job at like being its own movie. Like, you could easily watch 28 years later.
So now the theory is they're gonna take little Spike under the wing. Here's your swanky jumpsuit, and here's a pool.
And it's like, oh, right. So it's actually going to be the Pole Temple instead of Bone Temple.
The Pole Temple, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, I'm intrigued, but I'm also not that in. I mean, are we just going to be treading new ground?
It is like a kind of situation.
Yeah.
There's no other word to really describe it other than
Like, again, like, you know, like, I mean, we're going into it quite hard at this point because, like, it's such a strange and abrupt ending. Like, I still like the movie, trust me, I do. I'm certainly not in denial of it, but it's, you kind of just sat there thinking, who decided this ending? Like, this is, you're trying, like, really hard to tell us, like, oh yeah, everything will be fine in the second film. Like, yeah, but you haven't even got the third one, and you're planning on doing it as a trilogy. And no offense, there's something else we've spoken about fairly recently. There's either will get another thing, or it might not at all. I'm looking at you, Russell and Doctor Who. Jesus. That review that we did, honestly, has aged so poorly within hours of that going out, because I really hate it now. And I'm not but yeah, exactly. It's like the kind of thing where it's like you're banking on, oh, I promise the rest will be revealed later. It's like, but you haven't properly hooked me right now. And I don't think that's fair. Like, I genuinely don't like that sort of mentality anymore, because it didn't fully work for me by the end of this. So why is the second film going to make it all better? I don't know. Maybe I'm being really critical. Maybe I'm being cynical as hell. I don't know what you think. It's just me, isn't it?
No, I think as an ending, it's just too abrupt, and it's just like, oh yeah, so yeah, just look out for a sequel. But I've got other complaints about the film that kind of just make me dislike it a little less.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously the ending, I think, is the biggest sin of them all.
Yep.
Because it just does what every other legacy sequels do, and I mean, bloody hell, Halloween 2018 did it. It's like, oh yeah, Laurie's house is burning down, and yeah, she's fatally stabbed, but yeah, there's absolutely going to be another sequel.
Yeah, and this will just pick up immediately afterwards as well.
God, probably more than likely, but I know that obviously this is set like 2 decades after, so things have changed significantly. I mean, I love the whole, like, how the land has basically just been engulfed by nature, essentially.
Yes.
That is fantastic. I mean, just seeing, like, our beloved Angel of the North just surrounded by nature, not a road in sight.
I would have really appreciated seeing early 2000s Metro Centre in the background with like all of its glass beauty, and you see like a little sign for Metroland.
Yeah.
Immediately, it would have been a 5-star movie, irrespective of quality, because I like to be reminded of that.
In respect of its quality,
yeah.
Just 5 stars for the Northeast references.
But it didn't have it, so immediately it's a 3.
I don't know how I feel about the whole evolved infected thing.
Okay.
I think for Army of the Dead it worked, and I've seen like this B-movie thing on Netflix.
Ew.
It was called Z Nation, and basically you had this like like this serial set throughout decades and decades, and yeah, the zombies evolved like they do here. Why is the alpha zombie basically Predator?
Yeah, like I'm sure at one point they reference it as like it's like the virus that they got is basically steroids, and I was kind of sat there thinking, but why?
Yeah, I'm thinking it is way too tongue-in-cheek, the fact that it just does, like, Predator's signature move of he just literally rips their spine out with their skull and uses it as a trophy.
Yeah, that was...
I just think that's a bit, like... And then the whole thing of it being practically invincible, I really don't like that. It's stupid as shit, I think. The other ones I'm not too fussed about. I mean, like, I know there was weird fucking slug things. I mean, yeah, it kind of makes sense because they're so old and rotten they can't walk anymore, so they just got to kind of wiggle everywhere. But I'm not a fan of the alpha, I must admit. Not one bit.
I suppose the other thing, which, you know, I mean, like, we spoke briefly about 28 Weeks Later before. I mean, again, I don't really like the movie. The one thing I did like at the start is that it highlights that you know, you set 3 to 4 weeks after the first outbreak in the first movie, and then it only takes like another week or two for the infected that are stuck in London to just die of starvation.
Yes.
So why hasn't this happened again?
Yeah, that is a great question, actually.
Like, again,
have they just been surviving on worms all this time? Like,
well, that's the thing, because this time we do see that they're eating animals now, which I don't think they do in the first two movies, so I suppose there's that, but then...
Yeah.
I'm not going to call it a plot hole, because it's not really, but it's... And especially because, you know, with Danny Boyle being like... He's basically done like a Colin Trevorrow with the first Jurassic World. Funnily enough, that was the last thing we spoke about. Where he hasn't stripped Jurassic Park 2 and 3 from the canon, but he just ignores it to do his own thing. That's basically what you get here.
Yeah.
Like the second film ends with...
I mean, we were saying there was, like, no way on earth that, like, 28 Weeks' plot is gonna be incorporated into this new movie. Not a single fucking chance.
No, I would have been more shocked if it was, but then also because I don't think that Danny Boyle would want to deal with a worldwide virus, because then you'll just end up with, like, World War Z or something. A movie I haven't seen. I think I've seen one clip, and it's like...
Ugh.
I don't think I'm that interested, to be honest.
Nah, just read the book. Just read the book.
Okay, fine. I'll read. Shouldn't have to do that in 2025. No, it's... So I kind of understand, even though it's just really funny, how, like, it just takes a couple of lines of text to be like, it got to mainland Europe. It's fine now, though. It's like...
It's alright.
I want to see that movie. I would rather watch that movie of them just proverbially pushing back the virus. It's just like, get out, go, just leave it. Just like, it's such a weird thing. I mean, I don't blame Danny Boyle.
Kind of annoyed that, like, the true Geordie didn't come out. That's like, here, fuck off, this is my island.
Yeah, there's not even a single reference to Mara. Like,
yeah, where's like all the slang?
Despite the amount of bone marrow that is in that bone temple, there's not a single reference. Daniel Boyle, you had one job, mate. One job.
We're going to see me marrows, the bone marrows.
It's like, they're there now. It's me ma, me dad.
Me ma, me dad, me cousin's up there.
Me ma Mara, me dad Mara.
28 marrows later. 28 marrows later.
I think we've proved this is exactly why we aren't official screenwriters.
Yeah,
because absolutely. We make good ideas.
Ooh.
Anyway. Yeah, I think we'll start to wrap things up before we go absolutely loony. I'm definitely the same.
The wall there.
That's fine. I'm definitely the same as you when it comes to the infected. I mean, like, it's an intriguing idea, but it's also something that we've seen before, and it's like, I'm not expecting.
I don't want to say that it's
original.
Not completely justified. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's like you've got to evolve them. But yeah, not to an extent where there's like some hulking brute who's practically invincible.
Yeah, like I would understand if he's had like maybe like more of the virus or something. I don't know, but he just I don't
like
get
has
it.
the guy been like has the guy been doing what like every like like party goer does? He's just been like snorting up lines of like virus residue and just
So much
God,
rage.
I am invincible.
It's just a flesh wound. Not to suddenly go with that reference, but there we go.
I mean, the guy has numerous flesh wounds considering the pain that's inflicted on him, but yeah, he just shrugs it off.
Yeah, and he just sleeps while standing up, which is very, very kind of him.
Yeah, I love it how like a little drop of morphine doesn't even floor me, just stands sleeping.
Yeah. But, yes, as we wrap things up, again, I should reiterate, even though we've been pretty vocal on the ending, because like most of our issues, I think, stem with the choices at the ends. But in general, it's still a good movie. I'll be curious to see what it's like once it hits Blu-ray, because I'll definitely get it then. Maybe not 28 weeks. Sort that. And I'll have to wait until like January for the 4K Steelbook of 28 Days Later, which, to be honest, the more I think about it, the more I think that's not going to look very good in 4K anyway. And neither is 28 Years Later, which we haven't referenced the fact it's shot on an iPhone with like a million accessories, so you might as well just omitted the fact that's just a bit I didn't say. The really crappy 2025 edition of Bullet Time, but it's Arrow Time. Like, I'm sorry, it looks stupid. Sorry, Danny, it doesn't look very good.
What's the theory that like they're gonna put like little like digitize some Easter eggs into a Blu-ray cut? Like there's gonna be like a hidden bottle of Newcastle Brown Ale.
The fact there's none of that. Actually, I think there's a sign for it on Holy Island. I think it's in like the village hall. I think you do see like a little new. I mean, I really hope it is. I mean, I'll have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I'll have to book another screening for it.
Typical. I can wait. But yes, in general, I still like the movie. But as ever with these things, there's a lot to talk about, mostly with the ending for these things. As I've now discovered, we're like 3 for 3 on having the biggest issues with things with the ending.
It's just it's getting a bit tiresome, all this like wrap up to basically lead to a sequel. It's like, can you not just do standalone things anymore?
Yeah, like treat it like even like the Dark Knight movies. You know, it's a trilogy, but each movie works on its own easily. And hell, the previous 28 Days Later, yeah, it does end on a bit of a tease, but it still works as a complete movie. Hell, even 28 Weeks Later to a certain extent does as well.
Mm-hmm.
This, I'll be curious how it ages once we've got the next movie. Whether people go back to this one or they just go straight to Nia DaCosta's film, which I think is really cool that she's doing that. You know, I think like after doing Candyman a couple of years ago.
So it's not going to be the Bone Temple and like the third sequel, it's going to be the Bone Castle. Rob Ferris has actually just made a giant castle now, made of bones.
Who the fuck knows? Honestly,
yeah, who knows?
Who the hell knows anymore? But yes, that is our thoughts on 28 Years Later. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, as ever, bit of a ramble, but that's exactly how we like to do these things. So thank you very much for listening. And as I already said at the beginning, and also in the previous episode, the next one we will cover Batman Arkham Knight. Now that I have checked and Dan has started playing it, I've seen the achievements coming in. It is so slow. Are you playing it on nightmare
how's he
mode?
not completed it? I'm like, fuck.
I am.
Why?
Because that's just the last save file I had. I thought, you know what? This could work.
Oh, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Fuck the militia. But yes, we will be talking about Batman Arkham Knight in our next episode. So we'll see you then. And until then, it is goodbye from Dan.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.